Emil, Amok to you. I didn't mean to say that, but I was just looking at myself here in my camera, and I said, I mean, he's wearing white. He's cooking. It's hot. It's probably hot where you are, right? Most of the country. I mean, it's getting so bad the cactus are dying. That's how bad it is. And I really don't know how you can be an activist in anything without being at least a partial or allied to the climate change movement. Actually, it's not climate change; it's climate boiling now. We're past the change. So I just want you to keep in mind that if you wanted to do something about climate change in that passive way, one thing you could do is go vegan. You say, Emil, go vegan. I mean, how's that going to cool me off? Well, you can eat Ben and Jerry's non-dairy ice cream. I mean, they're not a sponsor or anything. I'm just saying that you can eat. There's vegan, non-dairy vegan ice cream out there. And just like ices, you go to the icy guy. But seriously, by going vegan, it's probably the single most important thing you can do to aid the climate or to fight against climate change, because you don't feed into the not just the dairy industry, but the cattle industry, you name it. If you go vegan. So just a thought. I mean, I know that also you go eat those liquid powders. Boy, I started going on a juice extractor kind of diet using greens, but when you can't get to the greens, they have these meal replacements out there. And when it is hot and your appetite just goes, it's a nice way to go about doing things. Of course, there's always the bean and rice diet, which I normally am. There's this one set of beans that I didn't discover them. Rancho Gordo, they have these great organic beans, and they have a Christmas bean lima that is like a cranberry or like a reddish color. Delicious. I mean, it's like the most delicious bean I've ever had. I've consumed a lot of beans. Anyway, welcome to the program. As you know, I'm doing the San Francisco Fringe Festival starting on the 14th. Yeah, I mean, and I have these little postcards. If I should see you in person and not give you a postcard, shame on me. I got to give you these postcards because they're a nice little handy little memento of the show. There I am holding a gong. This is me doing the show in New York. And I wanted to read, and it's got some QR codes here, but I wanted to read a review. Oh, the show, by the way, is August 12th, Saturday, August 12th at 7 p.m. Thursday, the 17th at 8:30 p.m. and Saturday, August 19th at 1 p.m. And if you go to amok.com, you can get a ticket link. But I say that during my shows, and I want you to know that some people have seen the show, professional reviewers or reviewers. I mean, real reviewers, not like just audience members. And they've published it, and I wanted to read this one review from the last set of shows I did at Frigid NYC in New York City, February and March of this year. It's the Manhattan Digest review. Ryan Leeds, don't know him? Came to the show. Go to manhattandigest.com. Search for Emil Amok. It's Emil Amok's Filipino-American solo show. Educates and entertains. Okay, that could be the kiss of death. Some people say, as an entertainment, Emil, that's a kiss of death. But he says it doesn't just educate, it entertains too. So it's like a Filipino Leguizamo. He could have said that. He didn't, but I'll say it for him. He could have said it's like Filipino Mike Daisy. Oh, he didn't say that, but I'll say it for him. He could have said, Spalding Gray in a Filipino package. He didn't say that, but I'll say it for him. Anyway, this is from the review. And I'm only reading this because if you don't have it, if you don't have access to it, I just want you to know what people have said about the show. People who aren't related to me, people I don't know. Emil Amok Guillermo has a lot to say, but it's what's left unsaid that makes his solo show so interesting. Oh, so that means like I'm not like hitting it on the nose all the time, like my gong. I'm like hitting it to the side, just off. You got to work. Got to do a little work in the show. Just a little bit. Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, found under St. Mark's, that was the New York version, and other stories, runs under an hour and exposes America's ugly colonization of the Philippines, along with other comical and often profound observations. Oh my God. I did not pay for this. This is a guy who just came in, reviewed the show, sat in there, laughed at some people, and just shared his thoughts in the Manhattan Digest. He writes, this guy, Ryan Leeds, Guillermo may not be a famous name, a problem unto itself for Asian American personalities. But his tales are worth hearing and repeating. Repeating. Note he said repeating. The San Francisco-born Ivy League graduate was fortunate enough to earn a spot on National Public Radio's All Things Considered. He was the first Asian American male to host a national news program. It only lasted 2 years. However, and while Guillermo doesn't say it, one senses that the stint was not met with a mutual parting. One can also determine that the left-leaning broadcasting corporation is not always as progressive as its loyal listeners are led to believe. Well, you'll just have to see the show. Yet Guillermo has soldiered on, writing and working for the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, a contribution that he considers his most important work. I write columns for them. I mean, I've written columns in the ethnic media, Asian Week in San Francisco, now even the Oakland Post in Oakland, going on, 30, 40 years. Because you can do stuff in the mainstream, but you can't say stuff in the mainstream. Not like you can say things in the ethnic media. They say, Emil, the price you pay is that no one reads the ethnic media. Well, the people who care, the people who need to know, the people who are your natural audience, they care, they're there. They're important. Back to the review. Guillermo wisely avoids playing the victim card in relationship to cultural discrimination and offers insights into other groups that have been marginalized in society. In doing so, he makes the point that discrimination for one is discrimination for all. Last paragraph. One wishes that his show would last a bit longer. Oh, you bring me to Broadway, it's going a minute or an hour 30. Don't worry. And delve more into history than it does. Like I said, you give me another 30 minutes and Broadway theater. I was doing this at an off Broadway under St. Mark's. But, we follow Leguizamo, Birbiglia, all the great one-man shows to Broadway. I'll fill an hour and a half. Perhaps you will save that for the sequel. Oh, yes, the sequel. Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, found lost. For now, the piece running through March 4th as part of the Frigid Fringe is a must-see for anyone who cares about human rights and social justice. And if you want to laugh a few times, too. Anyway. That's Ryan Leeds, a critic for the Manhattan Digest. You can go to Manhattan Digest, Google it, and then you can read it yourself. Say, I'm not making it up. This wasn't just some Filipino relative of mine. Right. I don't know Ryan Leeds. But thank goodness that there are some honest reviewers out there who've seen the show. A number of reviews. For other reviews, you can go to amok.com and see blurbs from what other people said. One of the first reviews I had from this show was from the Orlando Weekly, who said, "Enjoy trying to keep pace with Guillermo's brilliant mind." Oh my God. Funny, poignant. That was the Orlando Weekly. A nice publication. And then San Diego Story said, "Excellent. Emil Guillermo knows how to tell a story, and that ability sets his Amok monologues above other solo shows." So, there. I mean, the reviews of past Emil Amok performances, they're overall, they're just the Amok monologues. It's me, Emil Amok, talking about in narrative form. I mean, it's not stand up. There's a story. The hero could win in the end. You'll have to go see. For tickets, go to amok.com and go to the link. See, I'm holding up the QR code for the ticket link right now, and maybe you can just click on that QR code to get you to the Eventbrite link. And definitely, I mean, if you see the layout of the see, there's me and my gong, but here's me at, where is it? There's me in my cap and gown at Harvard with my father. My father's right next to me. And there's me. That was the NPR photo that hung from the lobby of NPR. There, I was holding up my head because it was so big. And that shot of me in my suit and my perm is a shot of me with Daniel Phil Gonzalez. You don't see Daniel Phil. Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, I guess he's off vacationing today. He's usually with me on Friday, but he's on the other side of that picture. We are at some kind of Filipino social club honoring young Filipinos. This is in the 80s. And there you can see I had a perm. Before I went to NPR, I had a perm. And now I'm straight. I'm straight now. Anyway, Emil Amok, lost NPR host. Check it out. Oh, there's that QR code. I'll hold it up again. So those of you who are watching on YouTube at youtube.com/@Emil Amok 1, you can click on that. If you're watching on Twitter at Emil Amok, you can click on the QR code, and you can go to amok.com and the link is there. Eventbrite, EVENTBRITE, eventbrite.com to get tickets to the show. And once again, Saturday, August 12th, 7 p.m., Thursday, August 17th, 8:30 p.m., Saturday, August 19th at 1 p.m., 3 shows only. And then I'm off to New York to do the Conductor, Ishmael Reed's Conductor, off Broadway. So from one fringe to another, that's my summer. All right, so today I want to talk about this. Well, one of the stories. I'm going to talk about the new charges against Trump, because it's weird, the new charges against Trump. I mean, it's not weird. It's just the way it's set up. You get the man's relationship to people. In other words, if you're white, you might be able to go toe-to-toe with Trump. You might listen to you, might engage with you, talk to you, share some, secret documents, tell you about stories about Kim Jong-un and that kind of thing. But if you're a person of color in the Trump world, you call him boss. And you do what the boss says. And it's a little, for you PBS fans, it's a little upstairs, downstairs kind of thing. And I've written about this. I've talked about Walt Nauta, who I've written said, flip, Walt, flip, even though commentators say, well, if Trump has a favorable judge in Aileen Cannon, what are the chances of, any guilty verdict being overturned? Or, there's no mandatory minimum sentence. So maybe the best thing someone who is beholden to Trump can do is take his money for the legal fees and just hang on, because Cannon is the judge. Also, and no mandatory minimum sentence, you'll be off free. I mean, that's maybe one thing that Trump has said to these guys. Or maybe they believe that Trump's going to win and it's all going to go away. Maybe. That's if you believe in Trump. But what if you just believe in what's right? What if you just believe in the truth? I mean, that's what bothers me when I read about Walt Nauta and what he did in these new charges that were handed down last night. People have been talking about new charges that supersede the old indictments. The old indictment, but they add new charges. And what this new superseding indictment does is it says, hey, remember that document that Donald Trump was waving around at the Bedminster when he was talking to these staffers and people who weren't cleared to even be in the presence of classified documents? Remember, and Trump said, hey, here it is. Look, here's Milley. Look at what he's going to do to Iran. And then later, Trump tried to cover, saying, oh, this is bluster, because all we had was the audio. But now, apparently, the prosecutors have the actual document. And we know that Trump had the document. And we know that he was reading from the document. And so we know that when he's in the audio they keep playing on television news, we know it wasn't just bravado. He actually had the top secret document. And he admits it was top secret. He admits it was classified. Maybe, he says, maybe I can, make this unclassified or declassified. I'm not president now. I can't do it. Oh, well, yes, indeed. Here is Trump caught red-handed. The documents there are in the hands of the prosecutor now. We have the tape. Trump's in trouble. So that was probably the main new charge, right? And it's probably due from getting someone on the inside, one of Trump's lawyers, to produce the actual document. Say, here, this is the document. So that's probably the most troubling thing. But from a perspective, from a human perspective, this new co-defendant, Carlos de Oliveira, 56-year-old maintenance guy at Mar-a-Lago. This is always the case, right? Top guy, friendly with the bottom guys, because when the top guy needs something bad to happen, who's he lean on? Top guy can't do it. This is why he has servants. This is why he has underlings. This is why he has people so beholden to them or him that they can't tell right from wrong. So we know about Walt Nauta trying to make arrangements to move some boxes for Trump. And after a subpoena comes down, He changes plans. He also tries to enlist Carlos de Oliveira to do something that the boss wanted, which is delete the surveillance footage that they have in the Trump Mar-a-Lago servers. Remind you of the Hillary Clinton story? When Trump's always talking about those emails. Well, now we can always throw back. Tell us about the video. Tell us about the surveillance video, Donald. And tell us about that Iran document you kept waving around. And then you can follow it up with a lock him up chorus. Because that was his strategy with Hillary Clinton. So you have Nauta and de Oliveira responding to what Trump wants, which is get rid of that surveillance video. And you got Nauta talking with de Oliveira, and you have de Oliveira going to the man known as Trump employee number 4. He should be known as national hero because it was Trump employee number 4 who works in the IT department. He said, you want me to do what? You want me to delete the video, the surveillance video? And Carlos de Oliveira just says, this is what the boss wants. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do now? The boss wanted the server deleted, is what de Oliveira allegedly told Tavares. Oh, Tavares. I spoiled the reveal. Trump employee number 4, a.k.a. Yeoh Tavares. Yeoh, Yuscil Tavares. Now, it's interesting because all the news guys have a hard time with Oliveira's name. It's just Oliveira, but it's because de Oliveira, but because it's spelled O-L-I-V, Olive, and then Vieira is V-E-I-R-A, they don't know how to say it. I've heard de Oliveira, de Oliveira, de Oliveira. It's de Oliveira. It's, it's a tricky thing because, your eyes, you're saying what your eyes, what you're seeing defies what you should be saying. You want to do something with the V-E-I-R-A and make it more complex. And some people replace the A with an O and say de Oliveira. I've heard people say, no, it's just de Oliveira. Anyway. So de Oliveira, Carlos, the news people are stumped when they start calling him the first name. Well, then Walt and Carlos did this. But what are they going to do now with Yeoh? Yeoh Tavares. And Yeoh Tavares is a name that we should be singing praises to Yeoh. Because Yeoh Tavares is the guy who said no. I don't know anything about that. You're going to have to go to the security above me. I'm department employee. I'm head of IT here at Mar-a-Lago, but I don't have access. I don't care if you say the boss wanted the server deleted. I don't know how to do that. He doesn't believe it. He even have the right to do that. That's what the indictment says. Yeoh Tavares said. Yeoh, Y-U-S-C-I-L. Yeoh Tavares. See, in the newsman, they probably are forced to say Tavares. Like that 60 or that 80s band Tavares. They might know it that way. But if they go the first name route, then Walt and Carlos told Yeoh. No one has said Yuxil yet. It's tricky. Y-U-S-C-I-L. But we should remember that name because Mar-a-Lago IT department employee Yeoh Tavares, Trump employee number 4, patriot, ring the bell for patriotism. And if not, I mean, he's only known. Here's the thing: you're only known as a number if you're a good person. Walt Nauta, he could have been a number, but he hasn't flipped. He should have flipped. I've written, please flip, Walt Nauta, if you know what's good for you. He hasn't flipped. He is so loyal to Trump. And I said that was just a matter of colonial mentality at work. Guys from Guam. You know about the history of Guam? The history of Guam is like colonial mentality personified. You know, you're not a citizen. You're second class. You can't even vote. Can't vote for president. You got a representative in Congress, in the House, not in the Senate. They can't vote. You grow up thinking you're second class. And Trump knows this. He's taking advantage of Walt Nauta, who now we know is not so innocent, is deeper in this than we thought, or than that we really knew. And with the surveillance tape now, that you see how the conspiracy has gone deeper. And then they get De Oliveira, and De Oliveira could have been a number, but we name him now because he's co-defendant with Walt Nauta. There's a trio: Donald Trump, Walt Nauta, and Carlos De Oliveira. A trinity that represents really a diverse badness in America. I mean, well, it shows you the ironclad grip that a phony baloney alleged criminal, Donald Trump, had on these men who should have known better. But they were so beholden to power, to the Trump reputation. They also work for him, right? I mean, that's power. De Oliveira still has time to flip and tell more about what he knows. Although, you know, his attorney is another one of those Trump PAC paid for lawyers. He didn't go the Cassidy Hutchinson route to get his own attorney. So who knows what will happen to Carlos De Oliveira on Monday when he faces indictment, does his perp walk, and maybe he'll come to his senses. Although I think, you know, looking at Nauta, looking how loyal these guys are, or how they still are, you know, it was because they are so into Trump, so beholden to him, that their best interests are in Trump winning and letting it go, or in Trump paying for their legal fees because they can't go up against the Justice Department. Here are two, I'm presuming, immigrants. Although Nauta is from Guam, so he's kind of a colonized naval. I think he's probably a citizen by now because of his naval service. But they have climbed. They have climbed about as far as, I mean, they're a big deal in their communities. To say, hey, I work for Trump. I work for Mar-a-Lago. I'm the head of IT. You know, they think they were in a good situation. And when push comes to shove, you protect your boss. You protect, I don't know what the personal interest or what the personal life of De Oliveira was, but He was probably making decent money, seen as a success, to his family. Had some bragging rights. Oh, I work there. Yeah, I know the big guy. Are you loyal to the death? Because, well, they won't die in prison, but they'll spend a long time in prison. And I assure you, they'll spend more time than Trump does. Unfortunately. I just think that's just the way it is. Because at some point, he'll cut them off. They won't have lawyers, and that's why the best thing they could do now is flip. Is there anything else? Got to flip, because they want to be like employee number 4. They want to trade in their good name or their bad name and keep it good and just have a number. Like employee number 4, who's the hero. I mean, you see Tavares, Oliveira came up to him and said, look, the boss wanted the server deleted. That's what De Oliveira allegedly told Tavares. And Tavares, to his credit, said, I know right from wrong. Well, if you're an IT guy, you got to know how computers work. That's a kind of right and wrong. You want to make the thing work. You want to make the thing go. And making anything go isn't done by lying or doing anything illegal. I mean, you can, but you're going to pay the price. So Yeoh Tavares, we should honor Yeoh Tavares for what he's done, and hope that Carlos de Oliveira flips before it's too late, and pray for Walton Alta, because it may be too late. It may be too late for Walton Alta. I mean, I hope not. I think because the charges are so real now. I mean, they were real before, but they're realer now. And people have to begin to see that, wow, the law is working. And Trump is facing some serious prison time. Jurors understand this case now. Especially when you see Trump ordering, or hear the narrative, Trump ordering his underlings to have that surveillance tape erased, deleted, destroyed. People understand when you see Trump, in his own words, lying about, the document he had in his hand, saying, oh, well, that document, that just bluster, just provided, you just had the audio. No, we have the document now. So jurors understand that. Let's hope the voters do, because big Iowa event today. I remember being in Iowa 2019. It really was one of the worst times of my life. I'm traveling to go to the Washington Capital City Fringe to do my show. And we're going on by car, and we hit a tumbleweed somewhere before we get to Iowa. It was like somewhere like after we passed through Utah or something. And so there was a slow leak of the radiator, because those tumbleweeds puncture your radiator. And by the time we got to Des Moines, we were just plumb out of water in the radiator. The car wouldn't work. We weren't alerted by the computer smart car we had that there was any kind of trouble. And we got stuck on a Friday. Like Now, although this was a Friday leading into the July 4th weekend, so we were stuck for a week. By the time we were able to get anyone to look at the car, order a part, send a radiator to Des Moines, we got to spend some good time in Des Moines. And believe me, I did not feel at home in Des Moines. I mean, look, I'm staying in a motel or a hotel, small hotel. The big deal was the fair that was going on, but we were there. We didn't have a car. I guess we could have rented one, but we just chose to walk around where we were in West Des Moines, but not a very friendly place. And I remember talking to a number of people there just about the situation, Trump, how they felt. A lot of them weren't really all that happy with Trump. A lot of them weren't that happy about the United States in 2019. Got around with Ubers. They had Ubers there. Ubers and Lyfts. But the candidates are all there today in Iowa. And I don't know. What are they thinking? Are they thinking, oh, here is our soon-to-be thrice indicted candidate? Here's a guy who has an enhanced indictment or has a new charges on the second indictment. He really was handling top secret information. What is it about this guy? And maybe Van Jones is right. Maybe Van Jones is right when he said, this is sort of like a kind of OJ. Black people didn't like OJ. They knew something was right, but they defended him. They defended OJ because the bad guy was the LA sheriffs. And no one liked them. LAPD, LA sheriffs, LA law enforcement, no one liked them. So people went to the mat for OJ. So maybe that's it. Donald Trump is the white OJ. He is white people OJ. There, I said it. There, that's the reason why people. Is it time to come off Trump? Every time something happens. Indictment 1, indictment 2, raise money, Now the enhanced superseding indictment or document. The document. They have the document that he was waving around, document number 32. They have the conspiracy, the obstruction charge. A clean case. Real time. I mean, if the gloves fit, you got to throw his ass in jail. I mean, not acquit. Yeah, the gloves fit. If the gloves have a monogram T that's for Trump, what do you say? No, he's the he's white OJ. He's white OJ. That you got to say that, right? All right, keeping on the crime. I just hope that Tavares should be a hero. De Oliveira, I hope De Oliveira flips, and I hope he takes his friend Nauta. I hope Nauta flips too. How about that? All right, so now we go on to the next topic, which is, people are concerned about crime in the Bay Area. Like, I haven't seen in a long time. I mean, NAACP put out a statement. NAACP in Oakland. Oakland residents are sick and tired of our intolerable public safety crisis that overwhelmingly impacts minority communities. Murders, shootings, violent armed robberies, home invasions, car break-ins, sideshows, highway shootouts have become a pervasive fixture of life in Oakland. Look, I had a business in Oakland. I lived right there, Oakland Berkeley border. It's scary to me sometimes. I mean, sometimes you could say, oh, there's so much reporting on crime versus the actual crime. But this is a case where, no, there really is crime. And when the NAACP comes out like this, it's not just this is like a wake-up call. I mean, how many wake-up calls do we need? But it appears we need to be woken up a lot more all the time. We call on all elected leaders to unite and declare a state of emergency and bring together massive resources to address our public safety crisis. You know, it's not right to think that only white people want law and order. Everyone wants law and order. And this statement from the NAACP in Oakland says, hey, look, this is a state of emergency. African Americans are disproportionately hit the hardest by crime in East Oakland and other parts of the city. But residents from all parts of the city report that they do not feel safe. Women are targeted by young mobs and viciously beaten and robbed in downtown and uptown neighborhoods. Asians are assaulted in Chinatown. Street vendors are robbed in Fruitvale. News crews have their cameras stolen while they report on crime. PG&E workers are robbed and now require private security when they're out working. Everyone is in danger. Failed leadership, including the movement to defund the police, our district attorney's unwillingness to charge and prosecute people who murder and commit life-threatening serious crimes, and the proliferation of anti-police rhetoric have created a heyday for Oakland criminals. If there are no consequences for committing crime in Oakland, crime will continue to soar. Now, I don't like the way they use defund the police. I think no one wants to defund the police. People want police resources. They want to send cops to crimes, but they also want to send social workers or mental health people to mental health crises that aren't crimes. So defund the police is kind of like it's a scare word, a scare phrase that loses its meaning. We do need to charge and prosecute people, though, if they're committing serious crimes. And there are serious crimes being committed. A couple more graphs. People are moving out of Oakland in droves. They are afraid to venture out of their homes to go to work, shop, or dine in Oakland. And this is destroying economic activity. Businesses, small and large, struggle and close. Tax revenues vanish, and we are creating the notorious doom loop where our life in our city continues to spiral downward. Well, there's a phrase that every city in the Bay Area, every big city, Oakland, San Francisco, they're in this doom loop. You know, I'm trying to stop it by saying, let's have a thing. Let's go to the thing. Let's do an event. Let's go out. But if it's not safe, I don't know what the question. I mean, it's like we work to this point to get out from under the virus, but there's something worse than the virus, which is violent crime that keeps us back in our houses. As economic pain increases, the conditions that help create crime and criminals are exacerbated by desperate people with no employment opportunities, which is true. How do you get the criminals to stop from being criminal, but offer them alternatives to criminality? Employment, community, jobs that make them a part of community so they don't want to hurt the community. They got to feel a stake. If you're the enemy, how are you going to treat society at large if you're considered the enemy? We are in crisis, and elected leaders must declare a state of emergency and bring resources together from the city, the county, and the state to end the crisis. We are 500 police officers short of that number that experts say Oakland needs. Our 911 system doesn't work. Residents know now that help will not come when danger confronts them. Worse, criminals know that too. Our youth must be given alternatives to the crippling desperation that leads to crime, drugs, and prison. They need quality education, mentorship, and most importantly, real economic opportunities. That's true. Unfortunately, progressive policies and failed leadership have chased away or delayed significant blue-collar job development in the city, the Port of Oakland, and the former Army base. Man, they just go on and on. There is nothing, let's see. We also must continue with mentoring programs. Okay, we urge African Americans to speak out and demand improved public safety. We also encourage Oakland's white, Asian, and Latino communities to speak out against crime and stop allowing themselves to be shamed into silence. Well, we're speaking out here. There is nothing compassionate or progressive about allowing criminal behavior to fester and rob Oakland residents of their basic rights to public safety. It is not racist or unkind to want to be safe from crime. No one should live in fear in our city. We encourage the entire Oakland community to join a broad-based united coalition around these three issues. We have an emergency. We must end the proliferation of crime in our streets. We must provide jobs, training, and mentorship so our youth have alternatives to crime. And this was put out yesterday by the NAACP and Oakland's public safety crisis. I'm telling you, it saddens me because this is a real, because, I write for the Oakland Post sometimes. I usually write about national issues and about issues that hit me, but this hits me. So maybe I'll have to write about this. But, the thing is, this is true in any community, not just Oakland. All that East Bay area, all the little cities that come out of Oakland. I mean, some people say, "Oh, don't paint us all with the broad." Well, they're all in that same area. And we have to be united as a coalition, as a Bay Area. I mean, what I'm reading about here is true in San Francisco. I read what Brooke Jenkins said yesterday, saying, hey, she wasn't sure to call a couple of attacks against Asians hate crimes. I don't know what else you call it. Maybe they weren't specifically Asians that the crime was against. It just happened to be convenient. These people were mad at society. Although I saw one video of a man walking in Chinatown striking a woman. Just came up and cold cocked her. So something has to be done there. I don't know. I don't know what can be done. You can reach Cynthia Adams, president of the NAACP of Oakland, to find out what more can be done. You could call the Oakland City Council. But we got to speak out about this because it's true. It's causing a lot of people to turn inward and to stay away, and that's not good for our economy. That's not good for our community. It's frustrating. All right, back to got to talk about something else. Talk about something happy. We talk about Asian American things. I want to say, I gotta find this. I want to say congratulations to Michelle Yeoh. The Everything Everywhere All at Once star. I first met her. Well, did I meet her? I reviewed a movie years ago when she in the 80s. I mean, she's been around. But now 61-year-old Michelle Yeoh has, or 60-year-old. She doesn't need the extra year. She looks great. She is the historic making Oscar winner. She wed her longtime fiance, Jean Todt, T-O-D-T, former Ferrari and Peugeot racing director. She's 60, he's 77. There you go. So 19 years they've been together. They have this love story that they like to talk about. They're going to get married on July 26, 2004. JT proposed to marry MY, Michelle Yeoh. She said yes. Today, after 6,992 days, on July 27th, 2023, in Geneva, surrounded by loving family and friends, we are so happy to celebrate this special moment together. So they got married in Geneva. Well, you know, if you are, you know, she's not Asian. She's an Asian and American. She's really a citizen of the world. She marries this guy in Geneva, Switzerland. They met in Shanghai, June 4th, 2004. And there they are, you know. So Michelle Yeoh looks happy. I see her picture with, boy, she looks so much better than this guy. Well, look, I'm not going to base it on looks. He's obviously a wealthy man, a well-accomplished man, but he's been engaged to her for 19 years. Finally, at the age of 77, he gives in. Maybe it took her that long to pin him. You know, because she's like she's scrappy, you know, and he's a male, so he's fighting back, and maybe congratulations to Michelle Yeoh. All right, I'm going to talk about this one last. It's sort of a fun thing, you know, but it's Axios. Axios News reported this, and I want to talk about it because they talk about an Asian American doll. Yeah, an Asian American doll. Where is it? See, this is right. I have slow internet. I'm trying to find the Asian American doll story. And here it is. All right, so Axios is a good source for news. Their big story this afternoon, though, is that the age of U.S. senators in the 118th Congress, they're getting older all the time. You got Dianne Feinstein, who's 90. She had an incident the other day where she had to be told how to vote because she sort of got confused. You had Mitch McConnell, who's 81, who froze. I mean, look, there's a simple explanation. He probably thought he was in a Zoom meeting. You're frozen. You're frozen. Bernie Sanders, everyone loves. Uncle Bernie, he's 81. Chuck Grassley, Iowa, no one, well, you know, Grassley seems like he could be, you know, a reasonable guy, and then he votes conservative. So you got four of the top leaders who are like in their 80s and 90s. You got 68 senators are 60 and older. And if you look at the Senate, it's sort of like top heavy, 50 plus, hardly anyone in their 40s, and just like two in their 30s. It's one of the oldest in history. And so now we're just going to talk about fitness for office, term limits, ageism, because that's what these kind of things happen, and you can expect more of this. All right, so that was the lead story in Axios. They didn't even bother with the Tavares or the De Oliveira Tavares thing. But I wanted to read this because, you know, yesterday I did a big thing on Legacy, right? Harvard legacies. And, it's an important deal. I mean, now the Department of Education is looking into it. It's about time. Legacies. Here's the thing, at Harvard, especially. At Harvard, you have, as a group, the sons and daughters of alumni represent 5% of the applicants each year to Harvard. 5%. But they are around 30% of those admitted. So if 2,000 are admitted, which is roughly 2,000 people every year, 30% of that are legacies. So that's about 600 out of 2,000 legacies. You say, well, that's not that much. Oh, yeah? Well, that's a lot of space. If the only thing they got going for them is that they're the son or the daughter of an alumnus. Oh, they're also wealthy, and they're also white. And so a lot of people are complaining about this. And my solution to this is easy. And I say this as a progenitor of Harvard legacies, if only they got admitted. I mean, they're legitimately legacies. And of my 3 kids, 1 applied and 1 was rejected, even though he had much better grades than I ever had. He didn't go to a top high school like I went to Lowell High School in San Francisco, but he went to an IB program, which is, it's IB programs are like college courses in high school. In fact, they're just about equivalent to AP courses. And I took my 5 AP courses and skipped a year because I scored 5s in a couple of the tests. But really, my kids were much better qualified than me, and they didn't get in. So the easy answer to legacy, because the Department of Education is looking into this could cause another suit. This is what Harvard has to do. They can abolish legacy admissions, or simply let in more diverse legacies. Don't make it all so that it's all just rich legacies. Make it diverse. I mean, my kids were qualified, but they didn't get in because the preference is to wealthy legacies who also happen to be white. But as I like to say, this would have been the way that Harvard could have embraced the fact that, we've been in the diversity affirmative action game for over 40 years. And they have a diverse pool. They have a diverse pool of people coming into them. They can marshal it better, admit more diverse legacies. There goes the legacy problem. And if they did that, maybe the whole affirmative action thing would have gone out the window. Although I doubt it, because the conservatives really wanted to go after affirmative action. But certainly the legacy issue could easily go away if they just admit more diverse legacies. Read my column on that on the ALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog. ALDEF, aaldef.org/blog. Okay, so I thought about that because my daughter's name is Jilly, and Axios reports there's a new Asian American doll. It's called Jilly Bing. Jilly Bing. I never call her Jilly Bing. She's rolling out August 1st. Though U.S. doll lines have released some Asian American models, many of these dolls are made with molds used for white dolls and rely on stereotypes like kung fu or exoticized features. According to Jilly Bing's San Francisco-based founder, Eleanor Mock. Research has shown that dolls have a direct correlation with how young girls of color see themselves in their standards of beauty. Jilly Bing ships August 1, but has already racked up pre-orders from across the nation. The doll and her accessories cost $68, and it's cute. Jilly Bing is cute, like my daughter. Here's the thing about my daughter Jilly. She was the first out of the chute, and she was not the one that out of my 3 kids, I didn't force any of them to apply to Harvard if they didn't want. And she didn't want. But get this, everyone blossoms at different times. Jilly, who was the hardest person to get to do her homework, and she did her own thing. She is the lone scientist in the family. So, all hail science. Pro-vax, anti-UFO. I mean, you're not going to see me talking about UFOs because, all that UFO stuff that's going on this week, it's all hearsay. I mean, they can't prove any, aliens have come to visit the Earth. Yeah, that's all bunk. So science fiction, yeah, I can go with that. The imagination, sure. Flying elephants, yeah. Science. So this is why it's important. My daughter is a scientist. It's on her business card. Scientist. Amazing. Anyway, it just goes to show you don't have to go to Harvard. I think that's sort of the bottom line for all the Asian Americans, even the Asian Americans who sued Harvard to get in because they claimed they were discriminated against. Hey, look, was it bad that you had to go to your number 2 school and your number 2 school was Yale or wherever? I'm sure the harm for the people who got rejected from Harvard and claimed discrimination was no more than, oh, well, I didn't get into Harvard but with my straight A's, but I had to go to Amherst. And God, it is St. Amherst. And people always correct you and say, Amherst? No, Amherst, dodo. Okay. All right. I wanted to say one thing about Shohei Ohtani because, this is a sports weekend. Oh, I saw some good women's soccer games. Some great women's soccer games. And the U.S. plays, I think the U.S. plays Wednesday against Portugal, which they should win handily. The Philippines, Philippines plays Norway on Sunday, and boy, I hope the Philippines is ready because Norway has to score goals and they have to score plenty of them. So if the Philippines isn't tip-top, ready to go, Norway is so good, they might win like 10-0. I mean, if they wanted to. I mean, I think they kind of have to. Well, 6-0 would be good, but I mean, they're capable of winning 10-0 because Norway's in the bottom, and so it could be a massacre. I hope not. I hope the Philippines goes toe-to-toe and stays with them. They could make it, if they tie, they could make it to the round of 16, the next round, or next knockout round. So I mentioned the Philippines team because Rob Bonta, the Attorney General of California, and his wife, who is also a California Assemblywoman, they're in New Zealand, and they just put out a tweet within the last 24 hours about surprising their daughter, saying, here we are, and it was a really touching moment. Of course, their daughter isn't playing much. I mean, I think she's been on the bench. I'd like to see her get some minutes with the Philippine team. It's on Sunday. But interesting story about Rob Bonta's daughter, who followed in father's footsteps, not just playing soccer, but going to Yale. Now, there's an example of legacy in action. I'm sure she had good grades, but being a legacy is sort of like that extra push. Oh, father, mother, father went there. That's legacy. And that is a good example of the diverse legacy and a university embracing the good actions that they did in a previous generation by letting in a father or mother. You know about Bonce's story, growing up adjacent to Cesar Chavez and a camp down in Central California near Bakersfield. And then, achieving, going on, Yale. I think he went to Yale Law School. And now, from assembly to Attorney General of California. And it's just the beginning for Rob Bonta. Anyway, I hope some of the Stardust is passed on to his daughter in the Philippine team because they need some luck. They need some luck down there. All right. I just one mention about Shohei Ohtani. One mention. And it's important because Shohei Ohtani did something yesterday that was really astonishing. He went out and pitched a complete game. Now, no one pitches complete games anymore. They frown against it. They don't want pitchers to pitch a complete game. But he had like 111 pitches, 71 of which were strikes. So he was going at a pretty good clip. Still had it in the ninth. Had a one-hit shutout. The first game of a doubleheader in Detroit yesterday. It was only like 78 degrees, so it wasn't like unbearably hot in Detroit yesterday. But get this. After he pitches a great one-hit shutout against the Detroit Tigers, the Los Angeles Angels ace then goes out and plays the second game as the designated hitter. Oh, good. He doesn't have to run. He just has to swing the bat. Well, good, because he only hit 2 home runs, including one, a 435-foot bomb that left the yard at 116.9 miles per hour. I mean, sure, he hit 2 home runs. That was the second home run. The first home run, he only hit like 347 feet. But here's the thing about Shohei. He is undeniably the best player ever. I mean, look, after Doubleday, the white people invented the game. But I think we can say Shohei Ohtani, the best player ever. Better than that fatso Babe Ruth. Oh, sorry. I don't mean to malign the fat people. Because really, some of my best friends are fat. I always promise them I'm not going to malign fat people. But Babe Ruth was, he pitched and he played the outfield, I believe, or first base. But he was not like a two-way player like Shohei Ohtani is today. I mean, Shohei plays the field. He plays pitcher. He's designated hitter. You need his bat every day. He's a special kind of player. There's no player like this. He's the best player in baseball ever. And if ever Doubleday invented the game, an Asian playing in America named Shohei Ohtani has proved to be the premier player ever. Ever. I mean, there's just no doubt. I mean, you pitch a one-hit complete game, strike out 8, first game of a doubleheader, come back in the second game and hit 2 home runs. This is like Shohei Ohtani is like playing Little League ball in the major leagues. Because if you played Little League ball, there's always one good player who just dominates. Best. He's like man among boys, right? And I only had that feeling like one or two times. When I played in sports as a young kid. Between 11 and 14, maybe I had that couple of moments where I had that feeling in a game, and then every time afterwards, everyone caught up with me. Right? Oh, I wasn't that tall. I wasn't that fast. I wasn't that. And this was in baseball, in football, not in basketball. Wasn't that good in basketball. Soccer, you just had those moments when you were that good in your circle. Expand the circle, not so good, right? That's what you learn. But Shohei Ohtani from Japan, playing in America, the best. He's the best ever. So if you go to the MLB app, you can catch replays of that doubleheader. Just fantastic. And because of that, it means the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes is over. They're not going to trade him. Because who do you trade? Who do you give for Shohei Ohtani? You got to give a pitcher and a hitter of that caliber. And who's got that? I mean, you want Shohei Ohtani. I was for the Giants trading for Shohei Ohtani because to get the best ever player on your team, why wouldn't you? But now, not going to happen. They're going to have to try to woo him during the offseason. But that would have been an addition. Anyway, that's it for our show today. Hey, we talked about a lot today. Don't forget Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, coming August 12th, 7 p.m., the 17th, 8:30 p.m., and Saturday, the 19th at 1 p.m. It's at 277 Taylor Street. Go to amok.com for tickets. It's in San Francisco, and there are no Zoom shows or no web shows. Got to be there live. And so I hope you can make it. August 12th, 17th, 19th, all strange times. 7 p.m. on the 12th, 8:30 p.m. on the 17th, 1 p.m. on the 19th. Go to amok.com for our ticket link. Eventbrite.com, eventbrite.com for tickets. All right. We'll talk about Marianne Williamson next week, I think. She's doing a thing called A Meal with Marianne. No relation to me. But I thought, A Meal with Marianne. And she's earnest. She wants to run. And I think she could be a good candidate. I think we need her voice out there. I support her that way. I don't know if I'd vote for her, but I support her. And I think everyone should take a look and listen to her because she's saying things from the Democratic point of view that need to be heard. I hope she's taken seriously. I do. All right. We're here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Live, 2:05 Pacific Live, thereabouts, on amok.com on Twitter, a.k.a. the X, fb.com/EmilGuillermo.media on Facebook, youtube.com/@EmilAmok1, and Twitter @EmilAmok, just @EmilAmok. Replays on amok.com. I like to close with a little meditation because, meditation is good. Meditation. Don't count to 10. Don't count to 10. Just take 2 5-second breaths. So I always end with a little loving kindness, a little metta, METTA. Because the more love you give, the more you get in return. That's just the physics of it. So, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Check out the replays on amok.com. Yesterday was a good show. 566, 555 was good. 554, also good. Check them out. Back again next week. Till then, mahal kita.